welcome back to the Solitary Practice Podcast. So this week I'm going to talk a little bit about travel. Many people keep their magical lives completely separate from their physical lives. I don't bother because that's, in my book, completely foolish. They're not separate. As above, so below. As below, so above. If you are looking to, culminate your abilities, you have to learn to integrate everything. You can't bounce back and forth. I don't know, I guess maybe somebody would consider it like a oneness kind of thing, but everything should be integrated together, everything should flow. And again, I don't think you should have to set up times and places. You should be able to perform any form of magic that you need at any particular point in time without a ton of prep. We've heard me talk about that before. So I don't separate my life, we know that. A result of that is that if you travel, well, not you, me, if I were to travel, I need to take certain measures, basically, to allow myself to travel. I am tied to the land, and if I am gone for any length of time, there will be a compulsive need to return, because I'm tied to it. So while many people travel and go across the globe and do, whatever, I do not. Now, I have a certain perspective that when you hop from place to place and just see moments or weeks here and there, you get kind of a gist of it, but you don't truly integrate with it. You don't truly know it. You know of it. Whereas if you stay in one place year after year, season after season, day after day, you know it. You learn it. And it becomes very instinctive, and it's very ingrained in your pretty much everything. So we can debate whether it's better to go all over the place or if it's better to stay in one place some other time. My point is, because I always stay in one place, and for the last 7-8 years, I have not left here for more than probably 48 hours at any one time. And the one time I did do that, I started prepping the land for that about 6 months in advance. And it was during a time of the year when the land would be awake and sentient and happily doing what it needed to do. That is not the situation I find myself in today. A few weeks ago, I was annoyed, and my to-do list, my personal to-do list, has gotten out of control. It is the Hydra. You cut one thing off and 5 more spring up. I was not making much progress, in large part because I've had a lot of people who need things done. And at some point, I probably should set some boundaries and tell them no. But I'm also very hesitant to do that because, quite frankly, when you do things for people, then they owe you stuff. And I just like to have favors in the bank. Anyway, I was very frustrated with it. And I basically said that I was very frustrated and thought that I ought to just take a week and go somewhere else and let everybody learn how to manage their own lives for a change. I think we've all gotten very frustrated at some point and said something similar. I'm still a person, so I do that once in a while. It has been absolutely crazy. Things keep trying to die. That's very annoying. And anyway, so I was like, well, you know what? Everybody needs to learn their own lives, and I ought to just take a week. And it was kind of tongue-in-cheek. I wasn't really going to do it. But there is an entity that I generally do not talk about. It far outranks me. We have an interesting relationship, if we're going to call it a relationship. I'm not even sure that that's the right term for it, but I think that's probably something most people will understand. So let's say we have an interesting relationship. We always have had. And it's a huge and integral cornerstone of my practice is this relationship between me and this entity. And the entity has, for lack of a better term, a rather saucy sense of humor. I know better than to say off-the-cuff things. It never fails to like to teach me a lesson. It knows that I really can't leave here because I'm going to hit that compulsion to return. So I said I'd like to leave for a week, and 2 days later, another person at work was supposed to go to this trip. It's like a long flight from here. And they suddenly now we're going to Australia. Australia! That's about as far on the other side of the globe as you can possibly get from this meeting. And now suddenly they're just absconding to Australia for no apparent reason with literally no notice. And yes, I am side-eyeing this entity kind of hard because I know where it's coming from. You can just smell the tracks on this thing. But anyway, not necessarily something that I would normally do, but somehow I'm the one that's going to go and present on something. And, just as a complete sidebar, I have no idea what I'm presenting on. I am going to go to this place. I am going to do a presentation. I have literally no idea what the topic is or anything else. It's going to be fine. Like, there's nothing to worry about in that regard. I will wing this thing so hard. But it is wildly amusing to me that now I'm the work. If something goes horrifically wrong, send her person, just as I am at home. I really can't escape this. Which also smacks of this entity's sense of humor. It's giving me exactly what I quote unquote wanted. It's doing it in the most painful way possible. So I'm kind of like learning a lesson here. I'm being taught a lesson. Don't say stuff like that or you will get punished for it. And I'm also, I guess, being given a kind of an interesting opportunity. I am being given exactly what I asked for, kind of. But it's also an opportunity to practice being off farm and dealing with the compulsion that comes with being off farm. So when I was very young, it was difficult for me to be away. Like, eventually, as a kid, you go to school. Before school, I spent no significant amount of time off this farm. Going to school, even for back then, kindergarten was a half day, and even going for a half day was a traumatic thing. I mean, this was years and years and years and years ago. Like, I don't know that most of you were even alive when I was going to kindergarten. But basically, it was the first time I had ever been off and away. And there was no such thing as like mental health or anything like that back then. It was just, she doesn't react well to being away. It stresses her out or no, it was like a hardcore compulsion to return, like get back here kind of thing. And it was very difficult to concentrate and function while trying to be in school when like every fiber of your being is trying to drag you a town away to get you back home. The land did not take it well. It was a rocky year or two until I figured out how to manage it. Also, kind of helped that I would go for a few hours, I would come back. I would go for a few hours and come back. And after a while, the land calmed down about it a little bit. But initially, that first year in kindergarten was an absolute nightmare. Like, I can still relive it if I stop and think about it. Over time, things got okay. Probably the longest amounts of consecutive time I was able to stay away was when I was in college. I would chain up all of my classes so that I would do them in like 2.5 days. And just like I would be gone for one night, maybe two, and then I would be right back. But I was older and I had a little bit more control and a little more finesse, so I was able to learn to work around the compulsion. I figured out what the compulsion is going to do to me physically, because it does probably after about 18 hours, it starts to have physical effects. And so I was able to kind of figure out what those physical effects were, how best to manage them. And college was the longest time that I ever really consecutively spent more than a day or two away each week. As soon as college was over, of course, I moved back. And so, then it was just back to that whole 8-12 hours, going to school, going to work, whatever. And things got better. We did try a stint, like 2016, 2017, which we packed the whole family up in an RV and took them around the country. And we made it 15 days before I was gone, probably on the 12th day. That was a nightmare. We made it to the 15th day before my father finally broke. And between the two of us, we were able to, I think we were in Wyoming at about that point. We were just like, nope, absolutely have to go home. And we're able to outvote the rest of the family and drive for home. So we made it home on the 17th day, and none of us have ever left again for that long length of time. Well, my father or I, the rest of the family does what they do. But we're most tied to it. He's not nearly as bad as I am, but I definitely struggle when I'm away for any length of time. So I was packing my bag for this trip today, and I was thinking about it, And I was like, well, maybe I should run in real quick and do a recording about some of the effects that a travel could have for me. I don't think a lot of other people have this problem because I don't think anybody else is really formally tied to something quite the same way I am. I kind of wish sometimes if I was tied to something, I was tied to something portable. Keep that in mind for later. Obviously, I cannot pick up several hundred acres of ground and carry it with me while I go out and wander around. But it definitely does impact your perspective on literally everything because it's not like I can even go on a vacation or travel for work. That it is a limiting factor in some ways. Now, in some ways, it's a phenomenally huge asset too. So, again, balance. You got to balance it out. So I thought I'd pop in here real quick and just kind of walk through a little bit of what I do to work around this compulsion. And normally I would know like 6 months, a year in advance before I have to leave for more than like a day. Unfortunately, this dropped on me less than 2 weeks ago, and the land is asleep, and this is not an ideal time to kind of give it bad news, I guess. And yes, I do know that that entity finds this to be humorous, but also this is another form of a test. Again, this thing doesn't do anything for one reason. It's very multifaceted. It is extremely, extremely what we would consider intelligent. And so it crafts this stuff. I honestly stand in awe sometimes. I would just like to stand back and watch it work because it's way better than I'm ever going to get. But anyway, so I have done what I can do land-wise to just let it know that this is going to be a short trip, that I will be back. Honestly, I could have just said nothing and left, but that would trigger the compulsion to hit harder, because then it would consider it that I was stolen, not necessarily that I left. You don't ever, ever, ever want the land to think that you have been stolen. It will go to war. Let's not do that. The United States has enough problems at the moment. We certainly do not need an enormous tract of forest land deciding it's time for war. I basically have just let it know that I have to leave, that it was not an anticipated thing. I have gently indicated that there is an entity it can take that up with if it has any particular issues. It's not going to, but it will probably trigger the compulsion. I would say I'm going to leave here on a Tuesday morning, and I figure that the compulsion should be in full swing. I would say probably midnight 1 a.m. on Wednesday morning. So midnight Tuesday, 1 a.m. Wednesday. Yeah. It's going to, and then of course I'm going to have to function all day Wednesday. I'm going to have to present, I don't know what, but I'm presenting something, and I'm going to have to participate in completely random discussions. I am 100% going into this meeting completely blind. The person that is now in Australia left zero information. I don't even know why I would go. I am not the right person. This is not my department. I don't handle any of this. So sure, this will be fun. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to be battling migraines, nausea, very jittery. It depends on how hard it ramps it up, but it can, if it needs to, pretty much incapacitate me until I get myself back here. Hoping that it won't be too bad, but honestly, you never know until you get going how this stuff works. It really depends on the level of perceived threat, I suppose. So in order to prepare for that, I have altered, and I started yesterday that would be Sunday for those of you trying to follow the timeline here. So on Sunday, I started to alter my fluid intake, what, how often, when, and where I ate. All of that has to change. I have changed my playlists. I have changed my reading list. I finished out some books, and the next bunch that I'm starting are a completely different genre. Everything has changed because I don't separate the magical from the physical. Because again, as far as I'm concerned, it's all in one. When you alter your physical body, that's going to help or hinder your magical actions. And since this falls under a magical thing, I am trying to set up my physical body to be prepared for the physical effects of the magical results. I don't want to say magical effects and physical effects because that gets a little confusing, but I know what's coming. So I know from history what is most likely to happen, and therefore I can set myself up for it. from there, as I progress through this trip, again, I'm going to carefully manage what I eat, when I eat, how I eat, what I drink, what I don't drink, what I listen to, how light I'm out, what I'm around. I think there's a whole, I'm going to say magical itinerary that is going to happen, and it's going to tie in with the physical body. So it will be draining, it will be tiring. I will definitely be in an interesting state by the time I get back here on Wednesday night. No, Thursday night. I apologize. Wednesday, I've got to stay again on Wednesday night because by the time I'm done, it will be far too late to travel back. So I will be back here on Thursday, and then once I get back, anytime you're doing like tug of war, say you're playing tug of war and both sides are pulling really, really hard, and then one side lets go, what happens to the other side? They all fall down, right? We've all seen that. So I'm going to be under tremendous pressure to return, and I'm going to be kind of pulling back against that because I can't, and trying to just keep things steady. Once I hit the barrier or the edge of the property line, that's going to release. Once that release, I mean, you have to be kind of prepared for it so that you don't do like all the people do when playing tug of war and basically knock yourself over. So again, it's a lot of preparedness, but I'm preparing on the physical side to interlace with the magical side. Now, in a magical way, I have to, well, basically, I'm going to beef up the protections. I'm going to change how the information system interfaces because I'm going to need a line here, but I am going to be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles away. That's the other thing. I'm not going to be touching the ground. It's a little bit easier if I'm still on the ground because I can kind of run a line basically as I go. I will not be doing that this time, so I'm going to be here, and then I'm going to land there, and that point-to-point connection is not going to be something I have. So I have to kind of account for that, I guess. And that, for those of you who are interested in how I'm doing that, it's a little bendy time-space thing that I do. It will make my range longer. So I will be able to check in here despite the fact that I am many, many, many hours away. And I will go back and forth. It is a little bit more energy consuming because you are doing the bendy thing, and then of course you are doing the community thing, and it is still, even if you're bending time and space, it's still different than it normally does, and so it will require a little bit more concentration and effort. Probably the other thing that is happening, which I am kind of amused with, is no people here like it when I leave. And I don't mean just the family, I mean nobody here likes it when I leave town-wise. Generally speaking, I don't tell anybody I leave until after I've come back. That is a long-standing rule. So if I go, most of them will not know. But the important thing to do is to set up the relay, because people are still going to assume that I'm here. Even though oftentimes they don't see me for months and months and months, it does not mean that I am not getting inquiries. Emails are easy. I don't have to worry about text messages or any of that stuff because there's no cell service here, so that solves that problem. Nobody's going to try to text me. But they will stop by, they will call the house, those kind of things. And so I have to have stuff in place to deal with that. And for the short period of time I'm gone, we'll probably be able to pull it off just fine. I can have everything relayed to me. I will handle what I need to handle. And from there, I can either call people back or it can wait until I return. Unfortunately, the immediate family is not happy about me leaving. So they have suggested that I quit my job so that I not leave. And I'm somewhat amused by that. But it is very unusual, I think, to find out you have to go for a business trip for work and have your entire family tell you, you know what you need to do? Just quit your job and don't work that job anymore. Just go get a new job. I am not in any danger of quitting my job for this, but it did strike me as a bit extreme. But they are absolutely unhappy about my going off farm. Now let's be real here. I have not gone anywhere without some form of escort pretty much ever when I think about it. Once in a very blue moon, I will be able to go to the post office alone. And occasionally I can ride to the school alone and pick up a kid and bring it back from school. But that's it for time I am allowed to spend alone. I always have someone with me. Someone escorts me, somebody follows me. It is, scarily enough, pretty normal. I don't know how much other people are going to relate to that, but you do not get a lot of alone time if you are me. It is a weird life, not going to lie. But when you've got 1,200 people who think that you are their personal assistant and always at their beck and call, that becomes your life. Which I think maybe we should pause for a moment here and just remind everybody. Competence is its own curse. Now, I don't advertise that I could count the number of people who know that I practice on one hand at this point, but they don't need that. They just know. If you are competent, they will hunt you down and they will want you to do something for them pretty much forever. So for anybody who thinks that being a very capable practitioner is a wonderful thing, please pause and try to imagine your life in which you do not sleep or eat or pick up the mail without somebody with you. Because eventually, if they value you, they're going to decide that there can be no risk to you, that you must be preserved at all costs because no one can survive without you. It's patently untrue. They'll probably survive. It probably won't be pretty. But in their minds, they have to have you. You are now a need. And they will protect that like it's going out of style. So before you become wildly competent, make sure that that's what you want. It's all well and good to be able to do pretty much anything you want magically. But if you're found to be competent, they will latch onto you basically, and you're not getting rid of them. They're like barnacles. And you have to kind of set yourself up to manage to live with that. You have to decide if that's something you can do. I do it because I live here and obviously compulsion wise, I really can't leave. But also, I grew up in it. I was considered competent at like 5. So it's fairly normal for me. I understand that people looking in from the outside would think that this is a very bizarre setup. It works. And I am considered valuable. I am protected to a certain amount. They are certainly willing to do what they need to do to keep me protected and right here on this farm. Now, I often wonder sometimes if there isn't some interference in that. Because obviously I have this other little entity that is not a little entity. I just like to snark at it when I can. And me calling it a little entity does annoy it. I do a lot of things to annoy it. And we've been around each other for a very, very, very long time. So that whole thing has kind of evolved. But yeah, so we kind of go back and forth a lot. And I sometimes think it fires these people up just so they latch on harder. It knows that it annoys me. So there's probably some of that at play here too. Please remember when you are doing magical stuff that I know everybody's like, this is one reason, like this is it. It's just everything is tied together. Everything is knit together. Things tend to happen for more than one reason. I personally don't think you should do anything for just one reason. There should always be more than one reason. You should have as many reasons tied in there as humanly possible. Or inhumanly possible, depending. But you should definitely be aware of the ripple effect and then also, don't do anything just to do one thing. Try to make it work for you in the most advantageous way possible. But anyway, so yeah, I don't go anywhere without someone with me. It is pretty normal. I mean, literally, like if I go outside and walk around, somebody comes outside and walks around behind me or with me or whatever. And it's been fun over the years because, look, if you're going to live like this, you have to develop a little bit of a sense of humor about it. I just amuse myself with what reason will they come up with today? Those kind of things. You have to have a little fun with it. It will drive you nuts if you do not. Maybe my sense of humor is a little bit off, but I do try to have some fun with it. And so for this being a work trip, one would think that if you went on a work trip, you would not need to have someone go with you, but oh, I do. I tried to kind of squirm out of it a little bit. It always complicates something to be somebody my age and have to take, like, basically an escort with you. But I kind of knew when we got started, due to the level of absolute hysteria at the fact that I was going to be leaving, that was not going to happen. Took a run at it anyway, doesn't hurt to try. Didn't push it too hard. These people are too wound up as it is. So I have someone going with me. It will be fine. This person probably will annoy me within the first hour, and I'm going to do like a couple days of this, plus the compulsion. So yeah, I'm kind of thinking this might be like another one of those fun little tests. I haven't been off farm in a while. It's working on a lot of levels. Again, People do not just pick up and fly to Australia for no apparent reason whatsoever without a little inspiration from something else, which means I am being as prepared as possible. Again, all the physical alterations, but also I will have basically my full magical arsenal will be ready to go. I went and checked all of the reserve tanks. At some point, I was thinking that maybe I would talk about how to build a tank reserve system. I think it's handy. I don't use it very much anymore. At the time, it was a big thing, but I don't really use it much anymore, and it just kind of sits there and collects. But I thought maybe I might get into all the technicalities of building a really good energetic reserve system. I see so many people miss the fine details, but I think that's because they don't necessarily have a plumbing and heating background. Not that I necessarily do, but we're very practical. Look, we're farmers, you're practical. It's more about getting it done and not wasting anything and moving on to the next thing, so we don't have time to be flu, happy. I don't even know what the right term would be for it, but it can't be commercial witchcraft. It's got to be, like, get it done, because we got other stuff coming, witchcraft, I guess. But yeah, so anyway, I will be taking a escort with me, just to wrap up. So I've altered all of my eating, drinking, reading, listening, sleeping. Everything has been altered. The clothes selection was rather stringent. I have gone through clothes, shoes, coats. Everything has been looked at, right down to the rock that I carry in my right coat pocket. I have reviewed all of it. I have prepared all of it for transit. I am not carrying anything that could be identified as magical. Anybody could have a rock in their right-hand coat pocket. That's not necessarily a magically looking thing. And if anybody did check that rock, they would find that it came from a beach in Maine. So there's no tie to here. I'm not taking anything from here. Like, I don't carry pieces of rock or dirt or anything from here with me when I go. That will make the compulsion worse, so we don't do that. I tried that once. Oh, we'll never do that again. So no, we don't carry any of that with us. And yeah, while I'm out there, I will be monitoring very carefully in an almost scientific way everything that I eat, drink. I'm not too worried about sleeping because it is unlikely for the time that I've gone I will sleep in more than quick 20-minute cat naps here and there. I don't sleep in unsecured places. I'm very, very, very careful about that. And I'm not talking about other people's security. I'm talking about my own security. Even in my own house, I am very particular about where and when I will sleep. If I'm doing that at home, you can just imagine what it's like when I travel. I'm very careful about defenses when I'm out. I don't know the area. I don't know the population. I am going to one of the major cities. There's going to be other practitioners there. It's almost guaranteed. I am trying to go low level and not really be noticed. I want to be in. I want to do what I need to do, and I want to get back out and get back here where the compulsion knocks me completely out of the game and without picking up or notifying anything that I'm in the area. Again, it's like stealth maneuvers, but not nearly as, I don't know, flashy as all that. So anyway, that's a little bit about traveling for this week and all my little magical thoughts on travel. If we want a long story short, basically I hate traveling because it requires a great deal of effort on my part, and usually I am wildly dehydrated and extremely exhausted by the time I get back. There are a few things that I will travel for, but you guys don't need to know what they are. And I think that covers everything. So I'll stop there for today. I hope you enjoyed today's little rambly episode. If you did, feel free to share it with other people if you've got questions or, again, some other topic you want to hear me just rant on about at length. Feel free to contact me at thesolitarypractice.com. And other than that, I hope you have a really great week. I hope that by the time you're hearing this, I am back and somewhat less sleep deprived. And as always, I will talk to you next week. Thanks again.